Be me. 21. Third-year sociology student. Pretty sure I'm on track to change the world. Specializing in gender studies with a focus on dismantling patriarchal power structures. My thesis draft literally opens with "Men don't date, they recruit." And yes, I was proud of that. I'm kind of a big deal on campus, president of the Feminist Futures Collective, speaker at orientation, writer for the student zine. You've probably seen my Insta stories if you're here. I post cringe Tinder bios and dissect them like I'm doing feminist exorcisms. This one says, must love dogs, beer, and deep conversations. Translation: I want a mommy with benefits. My followers eat it up. Group chats quote my captions. Some guy once asked me what internalized benevolent sexism was, and I replied with a meme of a guy holding the door open while staring at a girl's ass. The post got like 1,200 likes. I called it scholarship with seasoning. So yeah, life was good. Loud, clear, and confident. Men were the problem. Always had been. Then one Thursday, regular day, boring class, too much oat milk, I run into Tom after our Gender and Culture Society meeting. He's one of the quieter ones. Doesn't talk unless prompted. Dresses like he's allergic to being seen, slouchy hoodies, muted colors, glasses, always carrying a tattered paperback. That kind of guy. Anyway, he tells me his society is hosting a talk that evening. Men's mental health, real conversations. I raise my eyebrow. He just smiles and says, you should come. Might surprise you. I almost laughed in his face. I mean, real conversations? About what? How hard it is to swipe right without being rewarded instantly. Please. But then I thought, maybe this would make decent content. A mini expose. I even had a title forming in my head, Sad Boys and Soft Misogyny, a live recording. So I told him, yeah, why not? I'll pop in. I expected Jordan Peterson soundbites, maybe a frustrated gamer sobbing about how women only date tall men. I didn't expect what I actually found. The meeting was held in a windowless basement room with Men's Mental Health Support Circle, printed in Comic Sans on a wrinkled sheet of paper taped to the door. I chuckled under my breath. Sat down, phone in hand, ready to gather quotes. There were 6 guys. None of them looked like TikTok alphas. No jawlines sharp enough to cut glass, no overpowering cologne, no gym tank tops. Just regular. Honestly, they looked tired. One of them stared at the carpet the whole time. They went around sharing stories. A breakup that happened 3 years ago and still hurts. No dates in 4 years. Tinder conversations that start and vanish like smoke. One guy pulled up his dating app and passed it around. He had over 300 right swipes in the past week. 2 matches. One said hi and never replied. The other unmatched after he asked about her week. He laughed when he said it, the nervous, brittle kind of laugh you hear from people about to fall apart. Guess my face just isn't it, he mumbled. Nobody corrected him. They all nodded quietly. That was the first time I didn't know what to write. Because somewhere between mocking low-effort Tinder bios and calling out fragile masculinity, I had forgotten something. There are some guys who are just invisible. Another guy pulled up Bumble. This is better, right? He said, smiling like a joke was coming. Women message first. Except they don't. 7 matches. 4 days. 0 messages. He scrolled and showed us. All grayed out profiles. Unopened threads. He shrugged. Maybe I look like a scam. Then one guy said he bought Tinder Gold. The room got quiet. He said it softly, like he was confessing. I thought it'd help. It hurts knowing people pay just to not see you. My stomach twisted. I couldn't explain it at the time, but something inside me cracked a little. Like a mirror hairlining from the corners. I looked down at my phone, the Notes app still open. Nothing felt funny anymore. I wanted to say, but it's not that bad. I wanted to say, women get objectified and harassed daily. I wanted to center the conversation back where it belonged, back on us. But I didn't. Because I was starting to realize that what they were talking about wasn't power. It was absence. It wasn't abuse. It was erasure. And, suddenly, I didn't feel like I was in an enemy camp. I felt like I was in a waiting room no one else ever entered. I didn't tell anyone I went back the next week. Didn't post about it. Didn't live react with quippy commentary. Just walked back into that low-ceilinged, poorly lit room and sat down. No notes app open this time. No agenda. Just this heavy, unnameable feeling in my chest like I had stumbled onto something sacred and didn't want to scare it off. There were a couple new faces, one familiar. The guy from last time, the one with the quiet laugh and the 300 swipes, 2 matches story, nodded at me like I belonged. That did something weird to me. I hadn't felt that kind of acceptance since maybe high school, when my debate team used to win regionals and the teacher would buy us pizza. Tom gave me a small smile when I walked in. Didn't say anything. He didn't have to. The meeting started. One guy, lanky, hair falling in his eyes, said he hadn't held someone's hand since 2019. Another said he stopped trying to date after being told by his ex that you're safe, but not exciting. The phrase stuck. Safe, but not exciting. That's how you describe a Honda Civic. That's how you describe wallpaper. It's not even an insult, it's just nothing. Like being erased with a compliment. I kept thinking about how me and my friends used to dissect texts from guys, looking for green or red flags like it was forensic work. How we laughed about men who sent, "Hey smiling face with smiling eyes," too fast. How we called them clingy. Desperate. Boring. God, have some game, we'd joke. But now, hearing the other side, it didn't sound desperate. It sounded like trying. Like actual effort. Like these guys had written and rewritten one line over and over before finally pressing send. And when no reply came, they just sat with it. No dramatics. Just silence. I started noticing things differently after that. I'd walk through campus and see guys sitting alone with earphones in, scrolling through their phones, not laughing, not reacting, just watching. I used to assume they were zoning out, but now I wondered, what if they were trying to gather courage to message someone back? What if they had already been left on red 3 times today? I went to a cafe and saw a guy try to compliment the barista's nails. "Hey, nice colors, kinda matches the leaves outside." She nodded, didn't say anything and moved on. The guy walked out with his coffee like nothing happened, but I caught his reflection in the glass door. He looked like he'd just exhaled 1,000 fears. And yeah, old me would have said that's weird. Don't compliment strangers. But now? Now I wondered how long he practiced that line. How many times he tried and failed before that. Later that week, I was on a bus heading to class. 2 guys were sitting diagonally behind me. Not whispering, but not loud either. "Do you think she meant it when she said, 'maybe later'?" one of them asked. The other replied, "Nah. That's like the polite ghosting version." They both sighed. Not dramatically. Not bitterly. Just like people tired of guessing. It hit me that this entire dimension of male reality had been invisible to me. Not because it was hidden, but because I never thought to look. I only saw what I expected to see: arrogance, entitlement, aggression. But I had missed the weight of silence. The constant strategizing just to be perceived kindly. It wasn't just rejection. It was being preemptively dismissed. I remembered a guy I'd matched with on Hinge last year. He messaged first, "Hey, your profile made me smile. The hiking pic plus book quotes combo is elite." I didn't reply. Screenshotted it, sent it to my group chat with, "Elite? Is this a job interview?" We all laughed. But now I wondered how long he stared at his screen waiting for a reply. And maybe elite was just his version of beautiful, polite, careful, not trying too hard. I don't think I was cruel on purpose. But I was careless. And carelessness, I'm learning, can feel just like cruelty when you're the one waiting for a text that never comes. My roommate Sam noticed I was quieter than usual. Asked me if I was sick. I said no. She asked if I was seeing someone. I said, sort of. Which wasn't a lie. I was seeing someone. I was seeing all of them. Every guy I dismissed. Every message I never replied to. Every awkward attempt I turned into a joke. Every nice but boring dude I never let finish a sentence. I started scrolling my old DMs at night. Reading them differently now. Like a translator learning a new dialect. I saw nervous jokes, self-conscious compliments, careful enthusiasm. And suddenly, they didn't look pathetic. They looked brave. But I didn't reach out. Not yet. I didn't know what I'd even say. "Sorry? You were right? I didn't see you?" What does an apology look like when you're apologizing for being blind? I went back to the next meeting. Same basement. Same guys. Same folding chairs. This time, one guy cried. Not loud. Just this trembling silence with water running down his face like it had nowhere else to go. He said, "I know I'm not owed love. I just wish I wasn't always the last pick, or worse, no one's pick at all." No one spoke for a long time. That was the first time I felt something close to shame. Not for who I was, but for what I had never even tried to understand. It started showing up everywhere. The quiet things. Not just in the meetings anymore, but on the street, in my lectures, in group chats I used to laugh in without thinking. I'd see a guy trying to find his voice in a crowded room and get talked over. I'd watch him fade back into silence like it was muscle memory. I'd wonder how many times he'd tried to speak before, and how many more times he'd bother. I kept thinking about the phrase one of them used, hope starvation. It wasn't even said dramatically, just stated plainly, like a weather report. Like, today's forecast, mild humiliation with a 90% chance of being ignored. One night, I scrolled back through my old Instagram story highlights, the ones titled Tinder Hell, the audition tape, Men Explained. I watched myself roast screenshots of guys who said, "Hey gorgeous," or complimented my dog in the second line. I had circled their words in red and added text, "Sir, this is a McDonald's." Thousands of views. Hundreds of laughs. Fire emojis. Skull emojis. Comments like, "The bar is below the Earth's core." It felt good back then. Like proof that I was seeing through the nonsense. Like I was building something. Maybe even protecting someone. But now it just looked like documentation of people trying. Trying and failing, sure. But trying nonetheless. And I realized I had been raised to be afraid of men's power, the kind that dominates, controls, hurts. So I learned to scan for threats, to mock the signs early, to laugh before they could. That was survival. But what I never questioned was, what if some of them were afraid too? Not of me, but of being nothing. Being too soft, too awkward, too invisible. What if their whole version of survival was just don't be weird enough to be hated, or dull enough to be forgotten? One guy from the meetings, I'll call him Devin, told a story that stuck with me for days. He said he once messaged a girl, just a normal opener. She didn't reply. No big deal. But 2 days later, he saw a screen recording of his profile and message posted in a private story with the caption, "I can't. Why are they like this?" A mutual had sent it to him. They laughed. Devin said it didn't even make him angry. It made him numb. He deleted the app that night. Not because of the rejection, he was used to that. But because of the fact that his attempt at connection had been turned into content. I think that was when something in me fully snapped. Not in a bad way. In a you can't go back now kind of way. I went home that night and sat in my room with the lights off. Just me, the blue glow of my phone screen, and this low, aching feeling in my chest. I kept thinking about how many guys I had ghosted. Not out of cruelty. Just boredom. Disinterest. I thought they'd bounce back. That it didn't matter. But maybe it did. Maybe that's why some of them grow bitter. Not because they hate women, but because they learned early that giving too much of themselves only led to humiliation. So they stopped giving. And maybe that's where those red pill guys come from. Not pure misogyny, at least, not at first, but exhaustion. Hurt that hardened into disdain because empathy never came back to meet them. I hated the idea. I hated the softness it required of me to even consider it. But I also couldn't deny that the more I watched, the more I saw patterns I had never seen before. Like how in lectures, if a guy made a mistake answering a question, people joked about it longer. But if a girl slipped up, someone usually rescued her with a follow-up. I had never noticed that. Not once. Or how in our campus cafe, the guys who spoke gently got ignored faster. The guys who didn't know how to flirt like TikTok stars, the ones who asked honest questions, who waited for replies, they weren't creepy, they were just not enough. Not enough to be noticed. Not enough to be remembered. That's what kept haunting me, this word enough. Enough of what? Confidence? Height? Banter? Verified trauma? Feminist takes? At the next meeting, a guy said something I'll never forget. He said, being a man is like applying for a job that doesn't exist. You dress up, prepare your lines, but there's no guarantee anyone's even hiring. Nobody laughed. One guy nodded slowly and said, and when they are hiring, they want experience you don't have. I felt sick. Because for the first time in my life, I saw the other side of the equation. The one I'd never bothered to solve. I was always so focused on what women go through, the harassment, the microaggressions, the casual violence. And all of that is real. None of it disappears just because something else hurts too. But pain isn't a competition. And in trying to win mine, I had silenced theirs. Later that week, I ran into one of the guys from the group. He was sitting on a bench outside the library, just scrolling his phone with a soft smile on his face. I almost didn't stop, but something made me turn around. "Hey," I said. "Everything all right?" He looked up surprised, then smiled again. "Yeah," someone replied. He said it like it meant everything. And maybe it did. Then he added, quickly, "Sorry. That probably sounds lame." I wanted to cry. Because it didn't sound lame. It sounded honest. It sounded like hope, cracked and stitched back together. And I realized, again, how many times I had seen moments like that: soft smiles, nervous words, gentle attempts, and filed them under pathetic. But maybe that was never the right word. Maybe the right word was brave. The night after that bench conversation, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, scrolling through my old conversations, searching for something I didn't even know how to name. Some pattern, some truth. But all I saw were pieces. Messages from guys I'd ignored. Half-finished replies I never sent. Emojis I didn't open. And silence. So much silence. But now the silence didn't feel harmless. It felt like weight. Like 1,000 small rejections resting on the chest of someone who just wanted to be seen. I thought about the guy who messaged me once. "What's your favorite poem?" Simple. Gentle. Too gentle, maybe. I never replied. Told myself it was too generic. I wanted clever. Witty. Effortless masculinity in literary form. Now I wondered how long he stared at his screen after sending it. If he told himself he was stupid. If he deleted the app. If he stopped trying after that. And I wondered, what if his question wasn't lazy? What if it was careful? What if that was the best he could offer, stitched together from years of being told he wasn't enough? That's the thing they don't teach you in gender theory class. They don't tell you about the way some men aren't dangerous or dominant or entitled. They're just trying. With bad lighting. With nervous thumbs. With bruised egos they're pretending not to have. And when they fail, they don't scream. They go quiet. They go away. That's the part that haunts me. The men who go quiet. Not the ones who lash out, not the ones who take and take. I know how to handle those. I can name their tactics, trace their psychology. But the ones who fade? The ones who stopped believing their effort could lead to connection? I never noticed them before. Not until I heard them speak. I think about that a lot now. How much of my feminism was built on not noticing. On curating evidence. On hunting for the worst parts of men and using them to write my theories. Screenshots as case studies. Bad dates as data. Laughter as confirmation bias. I still believe in the cause. Still believe that power structures exist, that women have suffered in silence for centuries. Still believe in safety, in choice, in autonomy. But now I also believe in the weight of a message left unanswered. In the bruise of no reply. In the boy who says sorry if that sounded lame, because he's been taught that honesty is weakness. I haven't been to the men's group in a while. Not because I don't care, but because I know now it was never about me being there. It was about me finally listening. Letting go of the need to correct, to defend, to recenter. Just listening. Sometimes I still catch myself. Instincts don't unlearn themselves overnight. I see a guy post something awkward or overly sentimental and my old reflex kicks in. Cringe. But now it's followed by a question. What if that's his best? What if this is what bravery looks like for him? One night, I walked past a guy sitting outside the library. Headphones in, typing something on his phone. I slowed down. Thought about saying something. Hope she replies maybe. You got this. But I didn't. Not because I didn't mean it. But because it wasn't my moment to fix. It was his to live. Instead, I whispered it in my head. Hope she replies. Hope she doesn't turn it into a screenshot. Hope she remembers he's a person. Hope she sees him. Sometimes I imagine what I would say to all the guys I ignored, laughed at, dismissed. The ones whose effort I mocked because it wasn't polished or performative or confident enough. I'd say, I didn't know. I thought you were the threat. I didn't realize silence could be its own kind of wound. That trying and failing over and over with no feedback, no affirmation, no soft place to land, that's a kind of pain too. I'd say, I'm sorry for treating kindness like a punchline. For thinking awkwardness meant irrelevance. For believing silence meant safety, mine, not yours. But I don't send those messages. Because I know now that the point isn't to be forgiven. It's to be changed. To carry what I've learned. To stop expecting men to be perfect just to be worth basic respect. To see the bravery and effort, even when it's clumsy. Especially when it's clumsy. To recognize that sometimes the strongest men aren't the loud ones, or the charming ones, or the poetic ones. Sometimes they're just the ones who keep showing up. Who keep sending hey with a smile emoji. Who get ignored and try again anyway. Who hold the silence, not because they want to, but because the world taught them no one listens when they speak. And still, they speak. That's what I carry now. Not regret. Not guilt. Just weight. And I think I'll carry it for a long time.